I'm finally getting out of my reading slump with 6 books that I bought in January to get myself started again with reading. Reading is such a wonderful way to slow down, and I love to read all kinds of different books. The first book I want to discuss with you is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm just still kind of heartbroken because, you just feel for this person in the end. You feel like you know her, and I don't know, it just really hit home with me. It's been a real hype on the internet, and I was just curious about it, and it's definitely worth the hype because it's just heartbreaking, beautiful. It's about a very famous Hollywood actress in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and she wants to have her life story told by this journalist that she picks without real good cause. And that's also kind of a mystery in the book. Why did she pick this specific person? You feel like you know this person, even though this actress really didn't exist. It's more based on characters like Rita Hayworth, Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor. The book just also really talks about, how important love is and relationships and the stuff that matters in the end that has nothing to do with fame and fortune. And it's just so well portrayed because you really feel like this person has done everything in her power and got what she wanted. And then certain things you just cannot control. And it's just, also a sense of loss. This is also written at the end of her life. So this interviewer interviews her when she's almost 80 years old. So she goes through all the stages of life with you, and you just feel like this is my grandmother giving me advice or something. It's really, very special. Now, if you are dreaming about Italy, like I always was, this is the perfect book for you. It's written by Marlena de Blasi, and it is a true romance story of her life, a memoir, and also has wonderful recipes in there. But it is mostly about her finding love with her Italian husband and living in Venice. And she also, it's called 1,000 Days in Venice, and she also wrote other books about living in Italy. And obviously, this is something I recognize very much. And so it's a very fun thing. I'm very looking forward to getting into this one. Now, after I've read 1,000 Days in Venice, I'm going to read 1,000 Days in Tuscany, also Marlena de Blasi. And it says Undercover, de Blasi is more than a sunny regional food writer. She digs into the meaning of life. So I think this is also very fun because obviously we live in Tuscany, and I am just very excited to see how she describes that. Reading is such a great relaxer. Just taking a moment to be with yourself in another world has always been such a joyful thing for me. As some of you might know, I am a big fan of slow living, slow travel, and I'm learning every day to do this and take time for things. And this book is all about that. It's called Slow, and on the cover it says how a worldwide movement is challenging the cult of speed, which I think is so cool, and I've heard very good things about this book. These days our culture teaches us that faster is better, but in the race to keep up, everything suffers. Our work, diet and health, our relationships and sex lives. We are in such a hurry that anyone or anything that slows us down becomes the enemy. Carl Honoré uncovers a movement that challenges the cult of speed by proving that slower is often better. That's what I always say, slower is better. other story that I'm really excited about is Blood in the Mist. I don't particularly like how they've done the cover of this, but this version is the only one I could find in Italy. So yeah, I think there's another version that looks much nicer. But Blood in the Mist is like a fairy tale written in 1926, written by Hope Mirrlees, which was a female writer who also wrote famous poems about Paris. And it's a fairy tale or a fantasy book about this town that borders a land of fairies. And in the town, morals and ethics and law and order rule. And they are afraid of the influence of fairyland. And fairyland has these amazing fruits that sometimes get smuggled into Blood in the Mist. And then people that eat that fruit get all ecstatic and whimsical. And people are kind of afraid of the influence of fairy. So there's this mayor that's trying to protect its citizens and his children from the influence of fairy. What I find so interesting about this premise is that it is so symbolic for real life and how we sometimes miss magic and romance and music and art in our lives. And if we miss that, we get depressed and we don't feel well. I am, of course, a big sucker for romance, and I am completely on that side of life. So I thought it was an interesting book to read, and I'm really excited to go read it. The book that I'm reading right now is called Quiet, and it is about the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking, which I think is a very interesting subject. I did take a while to pick it up, or actually to buy it, because somehow I don't really like labeling, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Like, I always feel like we're much more complex than that. We're a mix of everything, and I don't really like labeling. But the book is so far actually describes that really well, and also says that you can't really pinpoint a human being into being either one or the other. And it's it's an interesting subject, because I do believe that we often reward, more louder characters and personalities than the more quiet. I love how this book gives confidence to people that are somehow more retrieved, and how it celebrates and elevates this personality type in society. So if you can somehow relate to that, I highly recommend to read this book. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I would love to know what some of your favorite books are. Please leave them down in the comments below so I can look into them. If you'd like to see more videos about beautiful Italy or about slow living, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao, alla prossima!